Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of Get Your Fill. I am your host, Phil the Thrill. Today, I want to talk about why I am a Chicago Bulls fan. I obviously grew up in New York, and I like all New York teams except the Knicks. I am a New York Ranger fan when it comes to hockey. I am a New York Yankees fan when it comes to baseball. And when it comes to football, I am a New York Giants fan. The Chicago Bulls are obviously the only team that's not from New York that I root for. And the reason I do is because as a kid, I got to watch Michael Jordan play. I was privileged enough to see him play night in and night out. And the first time I saw him play as a young kid, he played the Knicks. And in a losing effort, scored about maybe 40 some odd points. But I was hooked, man, just by the way he played, his grit, his talent, obviously. I mean, all the intangibles that came along with him was just must-see TV. And I jumped on that bandwagon and haven't left since. So I'm still a Bulls fan to this day. I enjoyed the Derrick Rose era while it lasted. Obviously, now we're falling on some hard times. We're not that good. There's a lot of other teams that are better than us, but that's the kind of way it goes in sports. You have your ups, your downs, and everywhere in between. And it was a great ride, and I'm looking forward to hopefully some future championships down the road with whatever talent we get. I'm not even aware of who's on the team right now, which is embarrassing as a fan. But I mean, with sports kind of on a hiatus, it's not really relevant right now, but. I did want to kind of also touch on the Last Dance documentary, which is a nice way for a lot of you who didn't have the privilege of seeing Jordan play, get to see some game footage and all that stuff to really, in my opinion, cement him as the GOAT, which I'll save for another topic because I know that can go in so many different directions and everyone's got an opinion and some are justified, some aren't, but it's another topic for another day. Today, I just kind of wanted to touch on why I'm a Bulls fan and plain simple, Michael Jordan. So I was captivated by him, and I was lucky enough to have one other friend of mine, Gabe, who's also a Bulls fan. So I wasn't in it alone because obviously I got a lot of flack for it growing up in New York, especially during the 90s where the Bulls-Knicks rivalry was at its peak. So, had to deal with a lot of scrutiny, a lot of insults, but, growing up in New York, I'm used to that. So, but I'm definitely glad I chose the Bulls. Everything about them, even to this day, I like the jersey. I mean, everything about them is cool. If you ever got to see the entrance of the Bulls coming out, which I'm sure they're going to show in the Last Dance documentary, that was like, goosebumps. I mean, the music, the entrance, all the pop and circumstance behind it was really cool. So a lot of you are going to get to see that. It might change your mind about who you think is the GOAT. It might not, but definitely should be entertaining once it all unfolds, and we'll get to dissect the entirety of the series. But I definitely don't regret being a Bulls fan. It's kind of weird though. That's my only New York team that I don't, have an allegiance to. But with everything going on with the Knicks organization, I'm kind of glad I'm not a part of that. And I do feel for my friends that are Knicks fans. Obviously, I have friends that are Knicks fans, and we, get into heated debates about the Bulls-Knicks rivalry, which is fun because, especially now with everything going on, it's kind of good to just get back to arguing about things that aren't really important in the grand scheme of things like sports. But I mean, obviously it's a big part of my life. I played basketball. It was my second favorite sport growing up. So it was fun. And obviously I grew up trying to, shoot fadeaways like Jordan. I tried to get number 23 anytime I played in an organized league. So he was definitely a role model for me and the main reason I'm a Bulls fan, to be completely honest. But I like the whole team as a whole too. Some of my favorite role players were like Tony Kukoc, John Paxton, B.J. Armstrong, Luke Longley, Bill Wellington, Bill Cartwright, Horace Grant. I can go on and on and on. But I'm glad I chose them. I'm sorry I upset my dad so much. I got grounded a lot because of it. When the Bulls would beat the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals or the playoffs in general, I would definitely get a lot of heat. But not as much heat as I got when I actually met John Starks. The reason I met John Starks is one of my buddies is a big Knicks fan, specifically John Starks fan. And he had no one to go with, so he dragged me along with him. I happened to be wearing my Scottie Pippen jersey that day. So needless to say, I got a lot of heat, which is term for, people disliking you for the non-wrestling fans that don't know what heat is. At that point in time, I was probably the most hated person in New York. Wearing a Scottie Pippen jersey a year after the Bulls win a championship probably wasn't the best look, but I was a stupid kid, didn't know any better, and met John Starks wearing a Scottie Pippen jersey. So I'm sure if I wasn't a kid, he would have had some choice words for me, but I was a kid, so he was easy on me. So he just signed my autograph, threw it at me, and I went about my day. But that was some of the stuff I had to deal with being a Bulls fan growing up in New York, which is justified because, like the Yankees, when you root for an organization that gets a lot of success, you have a lot of haters. So it's just kind of par for the course. Even though I don't like to use too many golf terminologies because I hate golf, but we'll save that topic for another day. But I'm excited to see how this unfolds as far as this 10-part series. It's been super entertaining so far. As a Bulls fan, I'm always intrigued to see how the first three championship teams would have stacked up against the latter three part. Obviously, some players were still on that team, so it'd be hard to kind of put a starting five together. But that would have been kind of cool to see who would have got the better of that. Like if they would have stacked up their two teams, even though obviously you can't do that. But fantasy land would be kind of cool to see how that would have unfolded. Also, it would have been really interesting to see if Jordan would have got drafted by a different team. Obviously he was the third overall pick, so there was two other teams that had a shot at him and didn't get him. So it would have been interesting to see if he would have felt to them if he would have had the same career. So that's obviously another discussion for another day. But that could have. I still think at the end of the day he would have got success wherever he went. He was just that talented, and I think he would have brought everybody up to where he needed them to be to win championships. Unlike LeBron, don't mean to throw a jab, kind of, but sort of. But I think his intangibles, besides his overall talent, which makes him the GOAT. But again, I'll save that topic for another day, and I'll let somebody other than a biased Michael Jordan fan kind of chime in and see if they can change my mind. But that's the reason I'm a Bulls fan. Plain and simple, Michael Jordan. So. I was on that bandwagon and still am. We suck, but still a Bulls fan. Not going to be a Knicks fan at all. Although I do think Knicks fans do have the right to jump on the Nets bandwagon. At least it's still a tri-state area team, and the Knicks organization is a fucking disaster. So, I feel like if any fan base has the right to jump ship to any team they want, even if it's LeBron's Lakers, it's the Knicks. Because, my second favorite team is the Nets, just to keep a team in the New York area. That's obviously not the Knicks, but how we landed Kevin Durant, they didn't. It's just kind of sums up their organization in a whole. But so I do have some other teams in New York that obviously cause me heartache, but we'll get into that at a different time in a different episode. But yeah, that's why I am a Chicago Bulls fan that grew up in New York. So I'm actually going to try to do a 2-part series to this. I'm going to try to get my buddy Gabe, who's also a Bulls fan, to chime in and give me some of his stories. And obviously we shared some together because we watched a lot of those games together. So I'm going to get him, get his opinion on some stuff regarding this topic. So that way we could take a stroll down memory lane, and he could also give you his feedback to what it was like growing up in New York as a Bulls fan. It was definitely had its moments where it was fun, and it definitely had its moments where it sucked. Obviously, the highs were way better than the lows, or the highs outweighed the lows by a mass amount. But all good things come to an end. So at least we'll get to relive it with this documentary coming out. Well, actually, the first 2 episodes are out already, but once the entirety comes out, we'll get to relive the whole thing, the whole ride, and the ups and downs, and I'm sure it's going to be super entertaining. But so yeah, I'm going to definitely get a hold of Gabe, which is easier said than done, because I know he likes his privacy, and he's a shy guy, so he doesn't like being on camera. But I think he'll definitely have some more detailed stories, and he's more of a historian buff. Like, he can nail things down to the exact game and time. Like, I'm so bad with that. Like, I know a lot of, probably insignificant stats, but I mean, he is just like an encyclopedia of information, and he'll be more accurate than I can probably nail down. So with that said, I'm hoping you enjoyed this little brief episode. And once Gabe comes out of hibernation, or once he will let me get his opinion on the topic at hand, I will add to this video. But in the meantime, I hope everyone's staying safe. Hope you're doing the best you can under the circumstances. And I will be posting some more content very shortly. So stay tuned. Peace.